revolution. What are his views on revolution? Okay, so he wants stability. Okay, he is not in favor of revolution at all. And he says that even a simple change in government is a kind of revolution. Even a simple change in government, if one form of government is uprooted by the other form, or if there is a democratically elected government being voted out by some other party, that is also some kind of revolution. So even a change in government is a type of small revolution, and it does not favor big bang revolutions like Plato talks about. He gives causes for revolution. Aristotle has given causes for revolution. Let us see the causes that can lead to a revolution. Passion for power. The first thing is that there is a huge passion for power among those who are not part of government. Okay, those who are not part of government, they want to share the power. So first thing is the passion of power. The ruling class goes for overreach, too much of government. Like government starts, poking its nose in everything desirable or undesirable. Government is telling you what to eat, what to wear, where to go, how to speak, what to see, what to listen. Everything government is controlling. What to read, what to not read. In North Korea, you can be killed for watching a Hollywood movie. Do you know this? In North Korea, they can kill you for watching a Hollywood movie. Something similar needs to be done for no, no, we are way better. Even wearing makeup. And you know that King Jong-Choo has this unique hairstyle. You all have seen how beautiful he looks. You cannot copy his hairstyle. Do you know this? Yes, yes, that's what I'm talking about. You cannot copy his hairstyle because he thinks that's an altogether different thing whether he wants to, anyone wants to copy or not, but no one can emulate him. That whatever he thinks, he looks very beautiful. He is, of course, right? He is very beautiful. Yes, yes. So this is overreach. Like you can be killed for watching a Hollywood movie. Come on. It's good that I have not done this for Bollywood movie. Because the moment you watch a Bollywood movie, you have paid for your sins, right? 3 hours. So this is the overreach by the government. Okay. This is the overreach by the government, that everything is being controlled by the state. That is not something which Aristotle favors, and he rightly says, and rightly says, okay, okay, enough of the beautiful dictator of North Korea. Let us come back to Aristotle. Even India does not have a full-term diplomatic relationship that I can say that you have to study about him in international relations. No, we don't have to. So that Aristotle says that ruling class, if it goes for the overreach, it brews tension, it brews discontent, and people can rise up in rebellion. Undue importance given to people who are undeserving in the eye of public. People are holding important posts, people are holding important public affairs office, and public thinks that they are good for nothing. Okay, they are like very average people who have, because of kind of being in the good book of the ruling regime, have come into important positions. So that again antagonizes the people. And the vice versa is also true. Neglecting people who are worthy in the eye of the public. You are neglecting people who actually have talent, who can actually contribute to the governance and administration, who can contribute to the economy, and you have kept naysayers or yes men around you. So these are the reasons that, see how relevant these things are even today. This is what Aristotle says can lead to revolution. Corruption, again, corruption, if it becomes intolerable. Come on, UPA 2 was voted out. One of the main reasons was corruption. Mr. Binod Rai was the CAG of India, and every month a report of CAG used to come, which used to rock the parliament. It started with Commonwealth Games. It peaked with 2G scam, where A. Raja and Kalimoji were allegedly involved. And then it kept on coming, the Colgate scam and this scam and Aircel Maxis and National. So corruption was an issue even in the defeat of Congress in 2014. So corruption in the government. So these are the reasons given by Aristotle, and very right reasons. He's see the accuracy of such thinkers who are practical, and his guru, because he is having an element of idealism into him. That is why he will ignore these things. Too much influence of foreigners. Even Chanakya says this, that if king is controlled by foreigners, again, don't see at downfall of Congress, okay? One may say this, that because it is perceived to be a party which is controlled by a foreigner, or maybe foreign origin. That's why I said, do not say these things. So if there is a too much influence of foreigners, again, people will not be happy. Yes, for Donald Trump, it is said that Putin helped him to win the elections. Democrats were saying this, that Putin helped him win the elections. Okay, so these things can really, boil the people, and they can go for a revolution, a total regime change. No doubt, yeah, it's all right. Can I move? This one, this the second point, this one or this one? Which one? See, he says that even if the government changes, that's a small type of revolution. Very simple. हाँ वही बता रहा, small change. Government has changed. Someone else is the prime minister. It's a type of revolution. Someone else is the king. During Aristotle, that's a type of revolution. That's it. Okay. Now see the next one. Undue importance means people are given importance and they don't deserve importance. There is undue importance. So those people who should not be important, public has a perception. That's how public knows. No, no, no. Public is very much aware. Right? Public is seeing every day who is into the office, who is the noble, who is the aristocrat, and public forms opinion. That's it. That's the opposite. There are some people who public believes are very competent, very full of wisdom, very knowledgeable, and they are not in the public office. So people feel that why are such talented people, why are such people full of wisdom not into the government, and they tend to revolt. Got it? Opposite of the previous point, आप non deserving लोगों को position देते हो, public gets angry, and deserving people are not getting positions. समझा? Class rivalry is going on. Nobles are fighting the prince are fighting the queens. Okay, police officers are fighting the nobles, so that's a class rivalry. Okay, rich are fighting the poor, so who will be at the losing end? The people will be, the subjects will be. So that can again give rise to revolution. All points clear? Nothing to worry about that you have not understood? No, 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 Krishna, no. That's not even a compulsory retirement of public servant by the union government be accorded to Aristotle's idea. Completely different era and completely kind of because center has prepared a list, you know this, of those bureaucrats or those government officials 30 years and above they are into service, and center has asked give a review whether they are corrupt, whether they are honest, whether they are working, and those who are corrupt and dishonest and those who do not work will be compulsory retired. Right? In a way, you can say that no, six who are into service for the last 30 years, which means who are very senior. So if government does something like this, even if 5 of such people are voluntarily retired, the impression that Modi government will have in the eyes of the public, again I'm talking about impression, will be this government means business. माहौल बन जाएगा ना कि अरे करप्ट को हटा दिया, काम नहीं. और ऐसे भी government employees are not, most of them are not considered to be very hard working and everything. Most of them. Of course, there are some who are very hard working, very dry honest, and very, they are the core of the administration. There are many such officers, but then some are not so. So if they remove 5 to 6 such people after a report is being prepared and after a whatever they call it 360-degree feedback is done, the impression that the government will have in the eye of the public, Modi means business. He has compulsory retired the dishonest, the crooked, the corrupt, the lazy fellows who used to gossip all day, do not do any work, never moved the files, never cared for the welfare of the people, never made the scheme of the government reach to the people. Of course, we can say that center has started it. I hope the employees who are not so good start taking cognizance of these things. Yes, some IRS officers have been removed, but there is a reason for it. Do you know that? Why they were removed? They voiced their concern against a government document which they were not supposed to do. The service conditions prohibit them from doing that. Like this guy Saf Hazal. You know this IS officer from Kashmir. He was very critical of the government, which he was not supposed to be. His service condition prohibit him, and now he's saying, "I want to come back." And government will say, "Okay, beta, come." Right? So there are certain do's and don'ts for the government. Discipline is very important. Now, can we move? This revolution point is clear. First slide regarding revolution we have done. Now let us see what else Aristotle says on revolution. Ruling class neglects the change. Now try to understand. Like People are favoring something, people want something to happen, and ruling class is not letting that happen. Okay, suppose maybe people want to carry on with a possession, a huge possession they want to take out on certain festival, any festival it can be, and government is like, no, no, don't do that. So ruling class is unable to gauge the mood of the people, that can lead to revolution. So when the government of Bengal says that there shall be no Durga Puja processions in the land of Bengal, the land of Durga herself, that can be a reason which can propel people to revolt. Are you understanding it? Ruling class cannot neglect the change which people are very much comfortable with. If they try to do that, according to Aristotle, people may revolt. And in regimes like monarchy, family quarrels keep on happening. In democracy, he always says that democracy is the rule of the ignorant, second worst form. Aristocracy, where nobles are ruling, jealousy between rich and poor, the arrogance of ruling class. So in all these different forms of government, this can be the reason, like in monarchy, so much of family quarrel that people get irritated that they keep fighting amongst themselves. They have no time to look after us. Let us revolt. In democracy, Aristotle believes that idiots rule democracy. People will revolt. Aristocracy, rich and poor are very much confronting each other. The rich class, the elite class is very arrogant, non-approachable. People will revolt. Is the second point okay with you? Please let me know if the second point is okay with all of you. Solution. Address this. See, I could have written one more slide full of denying these things. But no use. Don't have passion for power. Do not, ruling class should not go for overreach. Don't give undue importance to people who are undeserving in the eye of public. Don't neglect people who are valued by the public. Do not engage into acts of corruption. Do not get very much influenced by foreigners. Do not encourage class rivalry. So these are the solutions. When you know the problem, and these are binary problems, right? So you can always have a solution. Very simple. You know the problem, you know the solution. If corruption is the issue, then being honest is the solution. Okay. So no point writing them separately and occupying the slides here. Okay with you? Now Aristotle as father of political science. Not only political science, but comparative politics also. He is called so, and his guru is also father. Plato is father of political philosophy. See, what is philosophy? Ideas. Okay, what is science? Knowledge of any subject in true and systematic manner is science, which has more of sensory perceptions involved. In philosophy, okay, here is the previous slide. Yes, Shreyas, you wanted to ask something on previous slide. Yes, what is that you want to ask? Shreyas, is there a question? So philosophy is where ideas are involved, right? What you feel with your senses does not matter. Ideas matter. Is what Plato, the idealist, believed in. So that is why he is the father of political philosophy. And being more practical, he talks about sensory experiences. Who? Aristotle. That is why he has given such concepts we shall see here. Plato is concerned with what ought to be. This is what idealists have done all their life. Aristotle is more practical. He does not deny material world. For him, idea and matter coexist. This we have already seen. So that's why he has combined idea with matter. Plato only talks about idea. For Plato, matter is not worth looking at. Matter is illusionary, right? Matter will change within an eyelid, battling of an eyelid. So he is completely into ideas. Aristotle combines both, and that is what Gill evolves the political science. Aristotle also goes for observation, empiricism, the knowledge that you get by your experience is true knowledge. And he had influence of his father too, who was a physician. Apart from Plato, Aristotle was also inspired by his father. His father was a physician. So what do physicians do? They look at the patient and out of their experience diagnose the problem and prescribe solution. Isn't this what they do? So he's bound to have impact of empiricism on himself. Are you getting it? Very logical deductions we are doing. Please tell me. नहीं समझ में आया तो फिर मैं समझाऊंगा. Aristotle gave constitutionalism. What is constitutionalism? Yes. Krishna, the previous point you want me to repeat? Okay. See, Aristotle's guru, first let us talk about Plato. Plato was always influenced by ideas. He is an idealist. What ought to be? The idea is within Plato and he wants the world to follow the same thing. Aristotle is a practical guy. He gives equal importance to idea and matter. Matter is the things around us, which is a result of our sensory experience. And Aristotle fathers, he was a physician. That is why, what do physicians do? What is that, Ravi? Can you please rephrase your question? Okay. I'll tell this. Empiricism says, listen, please. No issues. And don't be sorry for this. Arre, koi baat nahi, don't be sorry. No need to apologize. We are here to learn, right? Empiricism says that sense experience is the only true source of knowledge. If you are feeling cold, it's because you are experiencing it. Then you say the temperature is very low today. This is empiricism. Someone tells you it is very cold. That is not empiricism. You have not experienced it. You have been told. And you have an idea that it would be very cold in Delhi. Again, okay. So I was saying that empiricism is something that you get from your sense experience. Like someone tells you it is very cold in Delhi. That is not empiricism. You come to Delhi and you are started shivering. That is empiricism. You experience it. Everyone is now knows the meaning. You can't see me? Still. Can you all see me? Yes, everyone can see me. So this is empiricism. Now Aristotle gave what is called constitutionalism. Constitutionalism means limited government. That government's authority will be limited by the written constitution or an unwritten constitution, but there will be a constitution that will keep. Yes, of course. Constitutionalism, because he believes in constitutionalism, does not completely make him a liberal, but to some extent it makes him. He wants a check on Plato's philosopher king. He is not in favor of giving all the power into the hands of a single philosopher king. That is why he wants a constitution according to which the philosopher king would function. Having said this, this endorsement of constitutionalism does not make him a liberal. Some of his views are very liberal on women, on slaves, right? When did we say that he's a liberal? But what he's subscribing to, that we have to know. And he also believes in rule of law. What is rule of law? That there will be a fair trial, so on and so forth. So these things are the founding pillars of political science. Yes. So now we know why he's the father of political science. Now see what he's saying. Read this. Aims pursued by revolutionaries, like the origins of revolution, are the same in tyrannies and kingships as they are under regular constitution. What does this statement tell you? Let us try to understand this statement. He favors stability, his guru does not. Plato is a radical. Okay. Aristotle again gives general cause for regime change. Most common cause is feeling of inequality, whether it's a tyranny or a monarchy. See, what is he saying? That whenever revolution happens, their aims are same, and they do not see that whether we are living into democracies or tyrannies or monarchies. They are antagonized by the ruling regime. Aims pursued by revolutionaries are same everywhere. Yes, any revolution, Russian, French, American, any revolution you can name. The revolutions in Latin America, the Chinese Communist Revolution, the aim was same, right? So he says that there is a general cause. People are not happy. They feel they have been cheated upon. There is widespread inequality. So state should be very careful about feeling of inequality among the masses. State should try to address these concerns. See how relevant the Arab Spring. Have you heard the term Jasmine Revolution? This question was asked in your prelims exam. Sune ho? Do you want to note? If you have not heard about it, do you want to note it? Okay, don't note because it's a long one. And this question came in prelims because the evolution happened prior year. Yes, sir, I'll tell you. There's a country called Tunisia. So in Tunisia, there was this fruit vendor who immolated himself. He burnt himself because he was having a lot of hardships. The government is actually a tyrannical one was there. All these theological dictators. Middle East, same story everywhere almost. They have this Sharia law in most of the places, and then a king is sitting to enforce that Sharia law. So in Tunisia also, there was a lot of hardship that the people were facing. And this fruit vendor immolated, he burnt himself and he died. And people made video. Of course, people also tried to save him, but then some people made video and he could not be saved. And posted it on Facebook. Okay. Now, this is the first social media revolution, the Jasmine Revolution. Jasmine is the national flower of Tunisia. Like Lotus is the national flower of India. So they started mobilizing people on social media, create events, right? So Tunisian government was changed because of the anger of the people. They overthrew their government. From Tunisia, the revolution, it said, I don't know whether you have heard this song, पंछी नदियां पवन के झोंके, रिफ्यूजी, Abhishek Bachchan's debut, कोई सरहद न इन्हें रोके. It means birds, Nadia means river, Pavan ke jhoke, the wind flowing, they are not to be stopped by the boundaries, borders. Same thing applies to revolution. Panchi Nadia, Pavan ke jhoke, and revolution. Koi sarhad nahi ne roke. So what happened was, if that song was to be sung again, I think they should add this word revolution, Kranti. From Tunisia, it went to Egypt. Hosni Mubarak, gone. It went to Libya. Colonel Gaddafi killed. Iraq, Syria. So entire Middle East, at the same time, this India against corruption thing was happening in Delhi. Anna Hazare, they were saying that the smell of Tunisia is reaching India. Okay, so this is how it happened. Everywhere. Why it happened? Why? Because the person got himself an entire, what they were saying, that now democracies will come in Middle East and there will be oases in desert. You know what is oasis? Some greenery, some water. When you see in desert, you call it oasis. So Middle East is churning itself. Desert will now have oasis of democracy. You understand? So everywhere same thing was happening. So they asked this question in prelims. Jasmine revolution started from, the option is Tunisia, the national flower. Now you will not forget it. All of you understood? And this Jasmine revolution is also called Arab Spring. Because you see so many regimes were changed. So many dictatorial leaders were either killed or disposed. Hosni Mubarak is in jail. He's either in jail or in hospital. In Libya, you have this Bashar al-Assad. In Libya had Colonel Gaddafi. In Syria, you had Assad. So these people sitting there for so many times, gone. Okay, so it dismantled Arab Spring or Jasmine Revolution. Actually dismantled very existing regimes in Middle East. So the fruit vendor who immolated himself, it was a watershed movement in Middle East. States should treat equals equally and also reward merit accordingly. Same thing that we discussed in the last class, that when two people are having same level of talent, they are doing same type of work, then reward them equally. If one of them is not compensated adequately, that can give rise to feeling of discontent, which can result into revolution. Okay, relevance of Aristotle theory is evident from French Revolution, Russian Revolution, Arab Spring. French and Russian you will study in world history. Arab Spring I just told you. The underlying cause has been the feeling of inequality and the perception of justice denied. You understood, all of you, what we are dealing with? What is his view? How will you answer this question if you get this? For the time being, Aristotle is done. Why time being? Because there are certain things that I will teach with something else. Very correlated things are left. So deliberately I have not put it here, but we'll definitely see these things. And they are very correlated to the other thinkers. So whatever we have discussed till now in Plato and Aristotle, have you understood it or not? Because Plato is not favoring stability, because Plato says he wants very radical changes. His philosopher king, the idea of communism that he has floated for royals, that is not something that would bring stability at all. People might not be ready for it. Okay, Anirudh, as an idealist, he thinks only his ideas are correct. So this is not a recipe for stability. Anirudh, did you understand? Please tell me. No, no, in his view, he did, because philosopher king will bring all the stability. But that's not to be. Yes, in his view, he is favoring the philosopher king because that is what will make his ideal state. But that is not to be actually. Now, coming to Sarath question, according to Aristotle, middle class is essential for political stability. What is middle class? Is it a relative term or a qualitative one? Of course, it's a relative term. If all in poverty are elevated to middle class, see, no, 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 no. Now you are making it qualitative. Uh, those who are very poor, very destitute, very vulnerable, they are like not having basic necessities of life. They need to be elevated. They need to be elevated to the level of middle class. Correct. Now, how will that happen? Government has to make pro-poor policies for the same. And once that is achieved, there will no one will be so such living in such acute poverty. And when people are not having to live in such absolute uh, poverty, then the discontent within them is low. Is it okay? No, no, Ravi, it's no contradiction here. He does not favor radical change. Realists are mostly not in favor of radical change. He want radical change, but how is it like realist? See what the realist Aristotle is saying here. Realist Aristotle is saying that these things need to be done so that people don't revolt. Stability prevails. Where is he saying that dispose the king, cut down his head and do things what you want to bring stability, or bring a philosopher king who will sit on everyone's head and implement things? That is radicalism. We see elements of radicalism in Plato, not in Aristotle, at least in polity. His views on slaves and women can qualify as radical in contemporary times. During his times, they were not considered radical. Did you understand? Time to move from Aristotle. You have this PPT. I think I have not sent it, the PDF. Now let us move to another person, Machiavelli. Ravi, you want to say something? Can you see Machiavelli the Beautiful? That's Machiavelli. Who is he? His name is Machiavelli. That's actually a caricature. He was something close to it, because that's the image that we find about him. I have to tell you a story about him. See, Machiavelli is the father of realism, and he says he's often compared with Kautilya or Chanakya. In fact, most of the historians, most of the political scientists, the thinkers, the philosophers called Chanakya as Indian Machiavelli. Fact of the matter is, Chanakya is 3rd century BC, Machiavelli is 16th century AD. So Chanakya is senior to Machiavelli by just 2000 years. He should be called Italian Chanakya, rather than Chanakya being called Indian Machiavelli. But then what to do? These are the nomenclatures that vested interest have thrusted upon us. Okay, like they called Samudragupta, Indian Napoleon. Why? Samudragupta is just 1000 years senior to, more than 1000 years senior to Napoleon. Napoleon is 18th century AD. Samudragupta is 4th century AD. Right? No, it's we who are saying then that he is the father of political science. Why? Because he gave us concept like constitutionalism, like rule of law. Okay, and why Plato is father of yes, colonial mindset. This is Aditya. Let me answer Aditya's question. Why Plato is father of political philosophy? Because he always deals with idealism. Idealism is all about idea, philosophy. Matter is not important. Ideas are important. Ideas are innate. Ideas are like archetypes. These are the statements given by Plato. So he deals with political philosophy. His disciple deals with political science. Okay, step by step approach he has given to politics. That's why. Of course, he can be. He has not said much about, because during those times people did not move from one place to the other, from Greece to India. Hardly they moved. Seleucus comes, Alexander comes. So yes, we can say, but Western philosophy has dominated everywhere. That's why we can say that he's the one. Any other question? That's how it is written in Italian. Oh, that's how you write. He's not English, okay? So now let us try to understand his story. Are you ready for the story of this guy, the father of realism? Now listen to it. What happened was that Renaissance, again, all these modern political philosophies have to be connected with the Renaissance. I cannot help. Started in Europe. And before Renaissance, Europe was the Dark Ages. So I was telling you that Renaissance means, what does the Renaissance mean? That social orders will be questioned. Okay, people will not accept things, but they will question things. This is what was happening in 15th and 16th century Europe. This is the time he was born. Before that, what was happening? There was a kind of status quo in Europe. You understand what is status quo? जो चीज जैसी है उसको वैसे ही रहने दो. That is status quo. Keep things the way they are. That is status quo. And why it was status quo? Because the church favored it. Yes, church favored it. Why church favored it? Because church was having a lot of privileges. So when you are entitled to lot of privileges under an existing condition, you will never want that situation to change, will you? Yes or no? You will not. When you are having lot of privileges under a certain set of conditions like church had in medieval Europe, then they will not want to change. So, and Italy, Rome. Rome is the house of Roman Empire. Roman Empire is the house of church, right? So church had so much say in politics that this guy noted it and said that it is the and church at that time was very very corrupt. All sort of immoral, illegal, corrupt practices were done in the church. So Machiavelli says that this church should be done away with. Okay, they are responsible for all the evils that we are witnessing in Italy right now. And Italy was fragmented. It was fragmented into 4 to 5 parts. He wanted to unite everything, and he was jailed because his views were not liked by the king. So in jail, he wrote a book. The name of the book is The Prince, where he advises the prince, anyone who is a prince, prince is a common noun here, he advises the prince how you should act in order to rule successfully. Okay, how a prince or a ruler, how an ideal monarch should act, the do's and don'ts are given in prince. Now, often in your exam, there have been question comparing Kautilya with Machiavelli. Let me quote a phrase from Kautilya's Arthashastra. In the happiness of his subject lies his happiness. This has been asked in your May exam 3 to 4 times. You can see the questions. I repeat, in the happiness of his subject lies his happiness. His here is the king. You know, in Arthashastra, nowhere the name of the king is mentioned. No Chandragupta Maurya, no Bindusara. King is mentioned, not a particular king, because Chanakya wanted his text to be an eternal text. If he writes Chandragupta Maurya, that will suffice only during the rule of Chandragupta Maurya. He thinks that his text suits every emperor. So here in Kautilya has also given the traits in the happiness. Your subjects are happy, you are happy. This is how king should act. Now he has also written something in Prince, and at times they are comparable. Although this guy is very immoral, Chanakya is not so immoral. Okay, Chanakya also talks about Kutniti and Sam Dam Dandabhed, maintaining intelligence, espionage, everything. Okay, but he is not as brutal, as immoral as Machiavelli. Why we are saying? We'll see it. You understood the story, the context into which his ideas have developed? He wants a strict separation of religion and politics. Why? Because church was very corrupt. So he's also called the father of European secularism. Story समझ आ रही है आपके? Now there are many philosophers in between. Nithya has asked why such a big gap from 3rd century BC to 16th century AD. There are many philosophers. UPSC has not put them. UPSC has defined its syllabus like this. Let me read from the syllabus if you want me to. Just a minute, I'll open it. It's UPSC who has done that. I have not done that. Listen. Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke, Mill, Marx, Gramsci, and Hannah Arendt. These are the one. And in Indian, you have Dharma Shastra, Arthashastra, Buddhist, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Aurobindo, M.K. Gandhi, B.R. Ambedkar, M.N. Roy. So did India had only these thinkers? See, we are learning political science. So of course, people whose view matter in politics, they will be in the syllabus. In Indian political thought, you don't have a Shankaracharya, right? But Shankaracharya is considered as the Pope of Indian philosophy. Do you know this? There was no one who could defeat him in debate. He's the epitome of Indian philosophy, not on political science. So what's the use of including people like Bertrand Russell or Hegel or Wittgenstein or Descartes or Leibniz or Spinoza in political theory? Okay, my voice is breaking. Ravi is complaining. I think you can hear me now. So this is the context into which Machiavelli has developed his thoughts. And as I have always maintained that every thinker is a prisoner of his times. So is he? Can we move? Greatest theorist of real politics. Yes, he was a prisoner. He advises to eschew ideals. Eschew means खा जाओ. किसको? Ideals, morality, ethics, and to look directly at the empirical reality of human behavior. Brutal this guy is. Wanted Italy to be a strong nation state. Italy was the seat of Roman Church, which was a corrupt institute. Machiavelli blamed the church for all evils like corruption and lack of unification of Italy. He called for strict separation between religion and state, and so is called father of, I'll tell it, please wait, a father of European secularism. The prince considered to be one of the best work in the field of statecraft. For corrupt societies like Italy, he recommends centralized rule by a strong prince. Okay. Now, before we start something and before I answer another questions, I want you to write something. You all have pen and paper? I'll explain everything. First, you write something. Introduction. Give the title Machiavelli, Niccolo Machiavelli, and write. Machiavelli was Machiavelli was witnessing the times. Machiavelli was witnessing the times when Italy was in a fragmented state under the influence of church. In fact, he's blaming church for not being able to unify Italy under the influence of church. He emphasizes on empirical reality. Underline this term, empirical. I've written this here also. He emphasizes on empirical reality. He is also responsible for forming a type of political inquiry, along with a deep a, a deep intellectual change during Renaissance times. Within bracket you can write 14th to 17th century. Renaissance, you know the spelling of Renaissance? Renaissance. It is written as Renaissance. It is pronounced as Renaissance. Renaissance marks the end of medieval period. Renaissance marks the end of medieval period and the beginning of modern era. It transformed it transformed the way it transformed the way people think of themselves. It transformed the way people think of themselves and of the world around themselves. Written, all the social relationships underwent major transformations. A new dynamic social order emerged. A new dynamic social order emerged. For the first time, after comma you write, for the first time, political entrepreneur, underline this term, political entrepreneur or or the self-made politician emerged. He is not the son of king. He is not the son of nobles and aristocrats. But because he knew he has some ideas, he has some knowledge, he has some wisdom within, that is why he can also be a king. Repeat, okay, I'm repeating it. For the first time, political entrepreneur emerged or the self-made politician. Political entrepreneur or the self-made politician emerged. Change the para. Nation states emerged from the debris. Debris, you know, debris means the malba. Debris of feudalism. Debris of feudalism. Machiavelli is a transitional figure. Machiavelli is a transitional figure standing midway between medieval and modern times. Standing midway between medieval and modern times. He accepts he accepts that absolute monarchy. He accepts that absolute monarchy is needed to unify the state. Absolute monarchy is needed to unify the state in a modern way. But he does not appreciate he does not appreciate the other factors. He does not appreciate the other factors needed for unification. Now stop writing, all of you. Try to understand. This man survived in an era which was a transformational era from medieval to modern times. 300 to 400 years of very rapid knee-jerk changes, not gradual but instant changes were happening. Empires were being routed out, kings were being slaughtered, butchered, beheaded. And this is where he comes and he says that Italy needs to be modified. From the debris of feudalism, we need to move to the nation state. Let the church remain in church. Do not teach us how to run the government. Father of European secularism. And then he writes a book where he describes the quality that a ruler must have. You know what he writes? A prince must be daring as a lion and cunning like a fox. Okay, so you need to be daring and cunning both. And then he says the powers that a prince will have is something very comparable to Plato's philosopher king. You see the footprint of Plato again after thousands of years. I told you when we were studying Plato and Aristotle that these gentlemen will keep visiting us. So what is he saying? That uh, like king, the prince, the ruler will be so strong, so unchallengeable that he will be seen as something comparable to Plato's philosopher king. And he's talking about a modern nation state. So how do you reconcile the fact that a modern nation state will emerge by the efforts of an absolute monarch? You see the dilemma that he's into, and he does not recognize that modern nation state requires several other factors than a strong central figure, the prince. Okay, so this is the dilemma that he faces. Did you understand that?
He says democracy is for virtuous societies where people are mature, where people have the credentials to make informed choices. Otherwise, prince should rule with an iron hand, which means brutal prince. Implement what you want to, do not care about anything. History, not philosophy, is the best guide for politics. He is the father of political realism. He told the reality of politics as it is realism rather than it should be, not an idealist, a realist. Politics is nothing but struggle for power and it's not ethics, is what he's saying. So statecraft is the management of power. You need to do very clever maneuvering to maintain that power. That is called statecraft. Like someone asked what is real politics, right? So do you want to write a line or you just write one line, real politic. REALPOLITIK, real politic. It can be said to be it can be said a system of principles that have practical relevance rather than moral relevance. Real politic is an offshoot of realism. Support a particular country because why? Because your interests are converging, not because you are taking some moral high ground. Yes, yes, I'll repeat that. Real politic is a system of politics based on what I said. Can someone repeat?
It can be said a system of principles that have
Practical relevance rather than moral moral relevance. Offshoot of realism it would be. And then he says that clever maneuvering is needed, statecraft is needed. Practice real politics. Real politics in action is statecraft. Okay. He is also considered to be a great patriot among political thinkers. Not all political thinkers are very patriot. He is considered because he wanted to unify Italy and make it a very strong country. He is often criticized for telling the reality of the world of politics because he says that politics is not like an ideal prince needs to be there or moral king needs to be there. Okay, no philosopher king, nothing like that. Prince needs to be in power by hook or by crook. Prince needs to be in power and he needs to rule with an iron hand, crush the opponents, kill the adversaries, imprison the opponents. Everything he has written, that do not be soft, be very brutal on you when you are confronting someone, because the message that you want to convey across to your public is that any sort of rebellion will not be tolerated. So do not be soft. He says that punish people publicly, kill them publicly. That is why we are saying, because he's saying this is what politics is. Prince must be brave as a lion and cunning as a fox. So he must know which noble is with me. Do not give, he says that maintain at least, you know, such a number of nobles so that some of them must side with you. Do not give them very much freedom to act on their own. Always regulate them. Always keep a check on each other, the nobles. Okay, keep finding out who is with you, who is not with you through a very elaborate system of espionages and spies. That is when a prince will be able to rule. He is not the king. He favors the king, so he should not be killed. He favors the king, right? So these are the things, the introduction of Machiavelli. Remaining points we shall discuss tomorrow. And I'll immediately forward you the previous PDF. I'll send a mail to Subhana and you will get it in your Telegram group. So leave Machiavelli for today. I just told you the story and make you write few points. Tomorrow I'll resume it fully and then we shall see him in great details. And often questions have been asked in your exam. So after Machiavelli, we'll come to the social contract by the Mills and Locke and utilitarians and everyone. Let us first try to understand who is a patriot and who is a nationalist. Let us try to understand the difference. Do you know that? Which point are you talking about? This one. First one is this one. Stability over change, unlike his guru who is radical. This one is good. What is your name? Galaxy A6. This point, Aristotle favors radical change. Aims. Where is the aims? This is the statement. Oh, this is the statement that he made, and this is the statement that Aristotle made, and this is the explanation. The remaining points are the explanation of the first statement. I told you that time. Read the statement again. Aims pursued by revolutionaries, like the origins of revolution, are the same in tyrannies and kinships as they are under regular constitution. He says, now what did we understood from this point, from this very slide, that all the revolutions occur without because there is a feeling of inequality. You see the examples that I have given. You remember what happened in Tunisian revolution? The fruit vendor immolated himself because he was having financial crisis, economic hardships, and other types of things also he was facing. So people think that they are rendered unequal. Justice is not prevailing because of the inequality that is very rampant in the society. That is why people rise in the rebellion, irrespective of the form of the government, whether it is a tyranny or a kinship, a democracy, or a constitution. If irrespective of the form of government, if there is inequality in the state, people will rebel, irrespective of which form of government they are ruling under. They are being ruled under. Did you understand it now? Yes, irrespective of which regime, which form of government is, any other thing. So please revise Aristotle from the slides that I'm giving. Immediately I'll give it. Which difference, Aditya? Politician as in patriot and nationalist. That's a long discussion which is lined up for some sessions which we will in ideologies we'll do that. Yeah, patriot and nationalist that we'll do in ideologies. For that you need to understand what nationalists talk about. Leave it in thinkers. Yes, Ravi, please ask. What is the out of topic question, Ravi? Ask. Owner of East India Company. See, East India Company was a private company, but most of the English parliamentarians had stakes in it. So it was not owned by one person. Most of the English politicians, the English parliamentarians who was sitting in the House of Lords and House of Commons, had various stakes in East India Company. So it was not belonging to one person. It was actually a private company in which British politicians, parliamentarians had their stake. And that is why they won, because there was this French East India Company, the they could not defeat England because English government always supported East India Company. Unlike the French government, which took time, they ignored that they should support the French company in India. Yes, you can say this, that politics is governing a country, politics is practical. Yes, you can say this. Is it all right? So let's meet tomorrow in the next class to leave Aurelius now, Nihar. We have not covered him. Yes, international relations is very interesting. Meditations by Aurelius is not something that we have to consider here, so we can leave them. And yeah, he's not a king. Prince is always an antonym for any moral ethical thinker, whether it is Aurelius, whether it is anyone else. Okay. Okay, then let's meet tomorrow in the next class to understand Machiavelli more. And please read these things. See you all tomorrow. Take good care, study hard, and good night.